Okay. Well, hello, everyone, and welcome to the session today. Good evening, good afternoon, and good morning from where you are and where you're joining us from. Welcome to the session again. Today, we have yet another session for this week where we're going to go through the content, the PMP content, and our instructor for today is Jumoke. She's going to take us through a few details about leading people and team performance, and also collaboration and conflict resolution as well. So we ask that you interact with the presentation. During the presentation, interact with each other, just like we did earlier this week as well, and even in the previous sessions. Ask any questions if you'd like to understand something better. We'll get a session where we'll have questions. Feel free to explain the reasons for your questions as well, and that because that's important, and even as we learn together. So feel free to also post on the chat where you're joining us from. Personally, I'm joining this webinar from Nairobi, so it's good to interact with all of you. So feel free to post on the chat where you're joining us from, and also when you'll be sitting for your PMP exam as well. So yeah, without further ado, I'll pass it on to Jumoke. Welcome to Jumoke to take over from here. Thanks.
Thank you so much, Nelson. I'm happy to be here this evening, and I congratulate all the 40 plus people on the call for making it today to be here. I'm excited on your behalf. So I'm sharing my screen. I trust you can see my screen. Right, so I have coined the topic as presented to me, leading with impact, team leadership, performance, and conflict mastery, and it's aligned to the exam content outline. But I wanted to share a bit of my story. I failed PMP the very first time I attempted it, and I was so frustrated. I was so frustrated because in the class, when my instructor of blessed memory was facilitating, I could relate with whatever he was saying. I was nodding, I was providing inputs, I was almost like a teaching assistant in the class. Then boom, I wrote and I failed. And I was so much demoralized. In fact, they had to take me out of the exam room. I just couldn't believe I failed. It was like I was dreaming. And when I wrote this PMP, I was an engineer. I had MBA in general management. I was leading projects across multiple countries, especially the Anglophones, the English-speaking countries, going to brief projects. Clients were, requesting for me, I want Jumoke to be on my projects because I was delivering. So I went to write PMP, like just icing on the cake. I already understand what project management is all about. Anyways, let me just have the certification. But I failed. And I know that there are some of you here that you see, when I say I failed, people assume I failed once. I failed twice. I passed on my third sitting, you know. So I know there will be some of you in today's session that maybe you have failed once, or you have failed twice, or you haven't failed, but because you knew someone that you considered brilliant that has failed. So you are panicking, you are anxious. And so will I write the PMP again? I almost didn't write PMP again, I must confess. I almost. The only reason I wrote PMP again was majorly because of my daughters. Because when I was preparing for exam, they kept hearing me saying, I'm preparing for exam. So they would ask, Mommy, have you written the exam? I couldn't say yes. Because if I said yes, the next question would be, did you pass? And I didn't want to say I failed, and I couldn't also say that I passed because that would be a lie. So I was caught in a dilemma. In 2011, the exam was based on PMBOK fourth edition. And so I had become a member of PMI Global in 2010. We didn't have a chapter in Ghana then. Then 2011 chapter came. Then in anticipation of writing PMP, because I have heard about PDUs and I was so worried how to get PDUs, an exam that I've not written. I volunteered on that very first day of meeting, you know. And then I wrote my exam in August again, and I passed my PMP exam. Of course, I was excited, you know. And then I became a trainer in 2012 because those days when you complete a class, you get 10 PDUs. I don't know how it's run anymore because PDUs is not my problem now. I have excess of 250 PDUs by the end of my cycle. But this was one of the reasons I started training. But then I continued training because I am very passionate about passing my experience to people so that they don't have to write their exams multiple times. And then from there, I have gotten all these certifications, business analysis. I did AHPP. That is a bridge for those who did predictive PMP, those who wrote their PMP before 2nd January 2021, when the exam was based only on predictive. Then I went ahead and got ACP JAL. I went ahead and did the risk management professional, did the PMO, did the CP construction professional, did the green project management, and I'm currently preparing for one. I'm sharing the number of certifications that I have now for you to see that if I had given up, I wouldn't have been in a position to do this. And of course, I continue to volunteer. I'm privileged to be the immediate past president of PMI Ghana. I was the chair of the ethics committee, PMI Ghana, and currently I'm a global volunteer. And this is one of my awesome achievements, by my standard. I wrote a book, PMP Exam Mastery, and it's a cumulation of my close to 15 years of training, PMP, feedback from people. And the book is my attempt to make people understand PMP and relate it to what they do so that it is not just head knowledge. Okay. I'm sharing this with you not because I want to brag or show off, but I want you to see what is in you. That the fact that you failed should not make you doubt yourself. You just have to sit back and re-strategize. And how did I pass PMP? My first two attempts were without simulators. So the answers I was providing, they were based on my um, organizational experiences, what we were doing in our organizations that were seemingly giving results. Okay. Then after I failed the second time, the person that introduced me to both PMI and PMP said, you know what, you need simulator, and got me Rita Macaulay because I said I didn't have money. Then it was 275 USD. I said I didn't have money to buy that, and he got it for me. And it was when I started practicing the PMP questions that I realized what I thought were answers were not answers. I was making a lot of assumptions. I was overlooking lots of things, and that was when I realized my challenge. And by God's grace, I wrote and I eventually passed. And now I have come to understand that for you to write PMP, it starts with your mindset. You have to consciously, intentionally move from the way you are thinking, because all of us, our default setting is what we know. And you are managing projects in a certain manner in your organization. But remember, your organization is not the standard to write PMP. PMI has a standard, and that standard is ECO, the exam content outline. And then the personality of PMI, as I say, that PMI is ethical. PMI favors win-win situation when you are negotiating, when you are resolving conflict. PMI is a problem solver. So if you are a project manager writing PMP, or if you are an individual writing PMP, it does not matter your current title in your organization. You may not even be the project manager. You may not be the assistant project manager. As long as you are writing PMP, you have to see yourself as a project manager. You have to see yourself as someone leading people. You have to see yourself as a problem solver. And because you solve problem, you will not be escalating issues as the first point of call. All right. And then you serve your people. You remove impediments. All right. You are conscious and aware of stakeholders' value. That is the essence of the project you are managing. So the value of the project is not about you. It's about the organization and your ability to align stakeholders' perception, their expectations to the value the organization intends to derive from the project is one of the things you do. And so when you look at the PMP and questions from this perspective, you realize that the way you start answering the questions will be different. And I also want to encourage you that it's not only about how to answer the questions and pass PMP only, but also about how you would eventually be managing project, because I can assure you, you will achieve results better. You will have better connection, link with your stakeholders. Okay. So this is not, I've not started presentation. I just felt I should chip this in. And I hope I have been able to encourage someone or motivated someone, inspire someone. Can you imagine if I gave up 2011, I wouldn't have written this book. I may probably have not gone for these certifications. And when it comes to PMP now, instructors, I pat myself at the back that I am good at what I do. So be encouraged, okay? Now, this is the point I will tell you to breathe in, take deep breath in, and exhale through your mouth. Let's do it again. Now exhale through your mouth. Again. Exhale through your mouth. You can continue to do this as many times to calm you down. I do this even when I enter the exam hall, to relax me. Now let's roll. So you can write your PMP and pass at first sitting if you haven't attempted it before. If you have written failed once or twice, I'm assuring you that if you are intentional, if you will listen to some of the things that I will say today, and if you can scan this, this QR code will give you access to my WhatsApp. There are videos that I have on PMI mindset, how PMI structured questions, why people fail PMP, and how you would pass. I can share some of those videos with you, all right? All right, so you can. I believe it, and I know that you can, okay? So be encouraged, okay? All right, so most PMP candidates struggle because they misjudge what to do first. Part of what PMP is testing is sequencing, is prioritization. Okay, so let us look at how the exam tests you. We are going to look at these three things: leading, conflict management, and then support performance assessment. So lead the team. I said earlier, you are a servant leader. And you know that Africans mostly, please, can you mute your mic? Happy birthday to the person, okay? So you are a servant leader in Africa. Often when you hold a title, we almost lord over people. Like when you talk, who are you? Don't you know me? I'm the project manager. Please drop that mentality. You are serving people. You are, you lead better when you serve. So you are a servant leader and you'll be tested on that. Serving your team and other stakeholders, removing impediments. So effective leadership in project management is about guiding the team toward achieving project objectives while fostering collaboration. PMI will test you on collaboration. If there's problem, do you just make decision or you involve your team members, you involve other stakeholders to know their perception about how to resolve the problem? And also fostering trust. Trust from the perspective of the project manager, you have to exhibit some form of vulnerability. You have to be accountable. You have to create a psychosocial environment where your team members feel free to be themselves, and then performance accountability. Now, a project manager must be flexible. It means that because the questions you'll be asked, they are not like a quadratic equation equals b squared equals this. No, they are situational. So you need to put things within context. Now, the maturity of the level of maturity of your team members, the kind of project, the environment, the methodology would have impact on how you will lead your team. So you have to be flexible. You have to be inclusive to allow collaboration and strategic in leading diverse individuals and stakeholders. Often when people apply for their PMP and the application is rejected, I ask them, send me exactly what you sent to PMI. Some people just copy their CV. And I go the extra mile with my students. I have a template, they capture their project management work experience. I go through it with them. So you can't capture your CV and write you led project this and it was 20 million. PMI doesn't know the name of the project. Some of you even will be mentioning the name of ministers. PMI doesn't know the names. What PMI is looking at for is that you play roles of project manager, leading people, diverse individuals, resolving conflicts, identifying risk and managing issues, stakeholder engagement, planning, team charter. These are the things, and then collaboration. If you are talking about I did this, I did that, you are not exhibiting part of the traits PMI is going to test you on. So your application is likely going to be rejected. Okay. So you must be flexible. All right. Now, these are the subtopics you are going to look at under leader team. 1, set a clear vision and mission. B, support diversity and inclusion. C, value servant leadership. D, determine an appropriate leadership style. E, inspire, motivate, and influence team members or stakeholders. F, analyze team members and stakeholders' influence. And G, distinguish various options to lead various team members and stakeholders. So now let's start picking them one after the other. Set a clear vision and mission. This one, you need to borrow a leaf from the charter. One of the mistakes we also do, for those of us that work in organizations that have project charter or statements of work, we do not share it with our team. And then we go like, if you know what I know, it is not your personal property. It's not your diary. It's meant for the team members. It is one of the ways you actually create the shared understanding, because every team member now gets to know the same thing about the project. So when you start your project and you are leading your team, you define and communicate the project purpose. The project charter will help you with this. And then the desired future state, what the project is to deliver. Then the second thing you do when you are setting a clear vision and mission is to align team goals with organizational strategy to keep everyone focused and motivated. Your team goals cannot go contrary to your organizational strategy. And that is part of what business environment is looking at. You understanding vision, mission, strategy, and you know that handling your strategy start from portfolio management, and then for portfolio management cascades into program management, and then project management. So understanding how your project fits into the essence of your organizational existence would help you stay focused, because it's part of your responsibility to ensure that your team members are focused. Okay. The third thing you do when you are leading your team is reinforce the vision throughout the project lifecycle to maintain engagement and direction. You don't lose focus. If it means having sticky notes written everywhere in the offices to remind people when you meet for your periodic meeting or status meeting, or you are constantly keeping them on track, what the vision of the project is to deliver. And team charter is one of the perfect tools for this, because in your team charter, you would have the project name, a brief description. Kindly mute your mic, right? A brief description of the project, the budget. Most importantly, you have roles and their corresponding responsibilities. So when you assign roles to people, they know exactly what they are to do. It's not like I thought it was not for me, I thought it was mine. And so team charter is also a good tool in addressing conflict, because the conflict of I thought, I assumed would not even happen. That is one. Then two, the team charter also has ground rules. So the ground rules already states maybe what time we are starting work every day. When we say 1 week, is it 4 days? Is it 5 days? Is it 6 days or 7 days? When we say 1 day, is it 4 hours? Is it 5 hours? When we say meeting, when would we have meeting? Is it weekly? Is it bi-weekly? Is it 1 hour? It is stated. Even when someone defaults, how the person will be uh, handled is stated in the team charter. So, and this is one of the things when we are managing projects, we don't want to actually develop. So it's a powerful tool for you and your team. So leading team in setting a clear vision and vision is you can use a team charter to achieve that. And the creation of team charter should not be done by only you. You don't sit in your office and say, okay, so this is what we are going to do. To increase buy-in, involve team members to be part of the creation of the team charter. The number two thing you do under lead a team is support diversity and inclusion. Why are you leading a team? You are leading the team to deliver what the project is to deliver. And remember, I spoke about collaboration. You work with your team members. And the best way you can actually collaborate is to understand the strengths and the weaknesses of each team members, because then it influences what responsibility you are going to assign to the team member, what training you would recommend for each team member. You will know how to coach each team member. All right. Now, support diversity and inclusion. um, some people think they know, they understand diversity, but when you work with them, you realize that no, they don't. But as a project manager, you need to understand this. Understanding this would help you align or change your perspective when you are reading your questions. So recognize and embrace differences in behavior types, cultures, and thinking styles. Some people, when you give them task, they rush at it. I will do it. I will do it. Give them few hours. The energy is dissipated. Some people, they are low risers. They take their time, but then when they um, arrive at a momentum, they are able to go steadier and longer than those people who said they would do and they stop along the line. So you need to understand your team members. What I'm trying to do today, as much as I'm trying to empower you to pass your PMP exam, I also want to leave something with you so that when you are managing projects, real projects, you'll be able to implement some of these things. So in supporting diversity and inclusion, you are to create a collaborative work environment. It's the responsibility of the project manager to do that. You encourage team collaboration. So there's a problem and you ask, so what do you think? I do create study group for my students and non-students. I don't know. I have passion in supporting people past PMP, whether I'm the one who trained you or not. So often when students ask me questions, I don't answer straight. They ask, and I ask them, what do you think? What do you think is the answer? Why do you think that is the answer? Because when you go through that process, you are likely not going to forget that answer. But some of them actually get frustrated. Oh, you just tell me the answer. I will not be with you in the exam hall. All right. So, as a project manager, that's also what you are supposed to do. Even if you have an idea what the answer should be, through it, encourage feedback from the team members, and then collectively you make a decision. Now, respecting varied perspectives and strength. It's okay. You may not agree. It's okay to disagree to agree. You have to practice that. And one of the traits of a servant leader is you modeling the leadership traits you want to see. If it is respect, respect them. You are modeling that, and then they will respect you back. If it is saving, maybe energy, you get out of your office, you switch the light off, you put the air condition off by yourself. So they learn. Your project team members, they are like children. Children do what we do, not what we say. You can say sit down. If you are standing up, the child is likely going to stand. And so if you want the child to sit, you sit down and you ask the child to sit. The child is likely going to sit. That is you modeling the leadership style or traits you want to see. Now, project management mindset. Leverage differences as strength, not obstacles. Don't say, oh, why can't we all do it the same way? No. If you're reading question, see how you can leverage different differences among your team members as strength. The third point under leading a team, value servant leadership. It means you serving your team first. Focus on the needs of the team, and then you remove obstacles. All right. Practice the tenets of servant leadership, active listening. Not that you are listening just to respond, you are listening to understand and be able to meet them halfway or solve their problem. Empathy. Now, I'm always quick to talk about empathy because often when we talk about empathy, you put yourself in the person's shoes, but the work must be done. You don't go to sleep and they say, "Oh, Jumoke couldn't do it. She couldn't come to work." You can't be telling your customer or your stakeholders that. But then understanding the strength of your team members would inform you what to give, the intensity of responsibilities to assign to them, stewardship and commitment to growth. So, as a servant leader, you must render stewardship and you must be committed to growth. You need to shift the mindset from authority-based leadership. So, if you're reading question and one of the options is talking about they should do it because you say it is so. No matter how the sentence is crafted, it can never be the answer. Authority-based leadership, you are serving the people. You should look for option that is talking about service-oriented support, collaboration. All right. Now, the fourth thing you should know under leadership is determine an appropriate leadership style. You have to be adaptive. I think it's one of the reasons people finish the exam and say, oh, there's a lot of adaptive question or hybrid. Because as a project manager, you should be like water or liquid. When you are poured into a circular bowl, you take the shape of the circle. If you are poured in a rectangular bowl, you take the shape of the rectangular. You don't say, as for me, this is my leadership style, and this is how I'm going to be. PMP does not favor that. You have to be adaptive. The choice of leadership style is influenced by team maturity. This is something that you should pay attention to. Team maturity, project complexity, stakeholder needs, and many more. I mentioned this earlier. So the choice of whether you are going to use consensus or consultative leadership style is based on your team maturity. I tell my students this: when you start your project, the leadership style you are going to use at the onset of the project is not the same style you will use midway or towards the end of the project. It's not the same style you will use if you are using new entrant project managers or mid level project managers or experienced or pro project managers. So that is why we say that you should be adaptive. So directive leadership style will be for new or urgent decisions or less experienced teams. So you are giving them direction. Collaborative or participative leadership style, it would enable you to build consensus and ownership. So this one, you are taking decision collaboratively. And PMI, what is it called? They bend towards this a lot. So, and it is for mature self-organizing team. So if you're reading question that is adaptive, sometimes if you are lucky, the question will tell you in an adaptive setting, in an adaptive project. If you are not that lucky, you have to read through the question. If you are seeing product backlog, if you are seeing iteration or Scrum, if you are seeing what is it called, Scrum Master, you are seeing iteration review, you are seeing iteration backlog, then you know it's adaptive. Yes, it's adaptive. Okay. And then the third leadership style, is coaching or delegating. PMI is also testing this, that you are not just managing project, but you are intentional about knowledge transfer to your team members. You help them develop skills. You empower them. Okay. So look out for questions that align to this. So be adaptable. Situational leadership or collaborative is often more effective, and PMI tools towards, or PMP tools towards that. The fifth thing that you should know about leading a team: inspire, motivate, and influence team members or stakeholders. And this is where emotional intelligence comes in, and transformational leadership. Don't ride on your positional authority. Don't that I'm the project manager. That is all your team members know about you. But using emotional intelligence, and remember, emotional intelligence starts with you. It starts with you. You being self-aware, understanding your own emotions, and then managing your emotions is the second step before understanding that of others. All right. So use emotional intelligence and transformational leadership traits to motivate your team members. Then use team to establish norms and expectations. That's what you will do with a team charter. Implement a reward and recognition system that aligns with team values and performance. Often when I go to organization to train, they have punitive measures when their employees do something wrong, but they do not have reward or recognition. Reward is different from recognition. You cannot reward without recognition, but you can recognize without reward. Okay. But some people don't even need the reward. All they need is you're in a meeting, and so let's clap for Nelson for ensuring that this meeting started at 5 p.m. Then we all clap. That's all. We have recognized Nelson for the role he played in ensuring that this meeting held. Now, let's now say that after recognizing Nelson, now said, take this plaque or what is it called? Citation or certificate or a box of chocolates. That becomes reward. So we would first have to state what he did, recognizing the act, then we can now reward. Okay. So don't reward without stating or recognizing what the person has done. Now, share wins and progress to boost morale. Some of us as project managers, when our team members are doing well, we don't talk. When the status of the project, if it's going well, we say nothing until something goes wrong. And when the thing goes wrong, that is the only time they hear our voice. And so it makes them defensive. So if you want to boost the morale of your team members, please check your minds. Nelson, please, can you check the mics for me and mute them? It's distracting. So if you want, one of the ways you can boost your team's morale is by sharing your wins. Oh, we've done this, we've done well, and this is how far we have gone. We are 50% through the project. Okay, so share that. It's not for you only as a project manager. Okay, the next one is analyze team members and stakeholders' influence. Remember your stakeholder analysis. Remember that when you identify your stakeholders, you need to categorize them based on the analysis. And you will analyze them based on the power, the influence, and the interest that they have in the project. And then you can put them in the 4 quadrants. I hope you remember. All right. Now, identify who has the power, the interest, and impact or interest on project success. So if you have 15 stakeholders, for instance, you know that they will not be on the same level. And the attention you pay to them will not be the same. So you need to do this analysis to be able to categorize. But be mindful that stakeholder register is a living document. I call it living document, as in you don't put full stop and that is it. You go to sleep. Periodically, you will be checking. You place Jumoke at number 5. Whatever you assessed to place Jumoke number 5, is it still relevant 2 months later, 3 months later? I use this example a lot in Ghana. I'm speaking it, maybe it will come to pass. So that it can come to pass. No, remove that maybe. Let's say 2024 in Ghana, we had election in 2024. When you did your stakeholder analysis, Jumoke was nowhere. Like it's okay, the project is just beside the house, so maybe Jumoke was the last on the list. That was 2024. In 2025, 2026, you woke up one day and the president of Ghana, His Excellency John Dramani Mahama, has appointed Jumoke as MD of one public sector. You knew automatically my position will move from the last somewhere. It may not be the first on the list, but it would move. And so that is where the analysis comes in, the periodic analysis. And so somebody may be at number 5, may go to number 15 as you analyze. Also remember this, when you start your project, there is a lot of assumptions. And your assumptions at the beginning of projects is not, for lack of better word, well informed. You don't have enough information. But as you go along the project, you get more information. So you need to be reanalyzing your assumptions. Now that you have more information, the assumption is it valid as you thought, or it has changed? You understand what I'm saying? Now, understand the motivation of your team members, because it's not the same. Remember your motivational theory X and Y, McGregor's theory, Maslow. Remember those theories, all right? And tailor communication and engagement strategies. Your team, your stakeholders, their communication need will be different. Someone that is a key stakeholder plus or against someone that is not a key stakeholder, the frequency, the content of what you'll be reporting to these two different stakeholders will not be the same. That is why the stakeholder analysis is key. So the tool you will use to analyze your team members is the stakeholder matrix: power, interest, and power, interest, and influence. Okay. The last but not the least, distinguish various options to lead various team members and stakeholders. You don't have one size to lead your team. So no one size fits all approach. Use different leadership approaches based on the individual personalities, roles, influence, the nature of the project itself, Excuse me. Mentor or coach team members needing development. So if you have identified that a team member needs to grow, you can coach. Coach in the PMP training material will tell you that training is when you acquire skills for a task that you are about to carry out presently, the present time. And then coaching is when you provide support for that individual to implement the skills acquired on the task. Mentoring is a longer relationship where you pair an experienced or a pro to someone that is not that experienced, for knowledge transfer to learn. And with the age of internet now, there are lots of mentors that do not even know they have mentees, because people just identify and then start following them. Okay. So mentor or coach team members needing development. This is one of the things you are supposed to do as project manager, and you'll be tested on it. Negotiate and influence stakeholders with conflicting interests. You'll be doing this. You can come across a question that two stakeholders and they're having conflict and it's becoming emotional during a meeting. What will you do? You cannot say, sit down. I'm the project manager. I'm talking. You are talking. Who are you? You can't do that. You have to negotiate and use influence. I tell people that your ability to influence without title makes you a super leader. You don't need title actually to influence things to happen. All right. Then collaborate or escalate when alignment is critical but resistance exists. Please, we have situation that you would have to escalate. But like I said, you are the project manager. You solve problem. You lead people. You don't manage people. You lead people and you manage process. Okay. So if you saw a question and in the question, it didn't state that this problem is above your threshold or your power, or that you have attempted to resolve it, but you have been unable to resolve it, please don't escalate. What you will need to do is to understand the cause of that problem, the root cause. That's where you may use the 5 whys or the Ishikawa. So escalation only happens if the problem is beyond. You are not the one to say, oh, this one passed me. Oh, Nigerians will say, Gary don't pass water. No, I've been a water pass Gary. One shot. So look at the question. If you escalate, if the first thing that comes to you is to escalate, then you are a reporter. You are not a project manager. And some of us, that's what we do in our organization. The organization has set it like that anything, report. That's why I'm saying that you have to unlearn, find a way to move from your default setting to PMI's way of doing things. And one of the easiest ways you can do that is through simulator. Practice questions. Any exam I want to do, I start by answering questions, even before I start studying. Of course, I won't score well, I won't do well. But when I start learning, it will be flashing. Yeah, I studied. Okay, so this is it. But because, respectfully, don't be angry. I'm not a politician, so I don't know how to sugarcoat things too much. Many of us are lazy. You cannot prepare for PMP and be lazy. This is a gold standard certification that has a lot of information. So you need to invest time. When I say time, I mean quality time. And you have to manage it because you're already busy. Most of you are married. You have children. You have parents. You have your job. So what do? Don't say, I'm waiting. When my workload reduces, it may never reduce. I know people who I have trained that started the project, the PMP, before I even knew what PMP was. 2007, 2008, and still they've not written. I know people that have attended me, Jumoke, my class 3 consecutive times. 3 different times. And of course, I charged them each time because they believed they didn't have time. They are waiting they just promoted me. Let me wait small. When the job load reduces, it will never reduce. So finding time to prepare for PMP itself is another project for you. It may mean you reducing your number of hours of sleep. It is just for the period. You can, it's not that you can. I have students that with training and preparing for exam, they wrote within 4 weeks. These are busy executives, lawyers, project managers in multinational organizations, and they wrote within 4 weeks, because it means whilst we were training, they were studying, they were practicing questions. Some 5 weeks. The total with the class with preparing for exam, 6 weeks, 8 weeks. 8 weeks is doable. But if you start using 3 months, 4 months, I'm not a prophetess, but I can tell you, you will not write after 4 months, because by the time you get to the 4th month, you have forgotten what you learned. You are asking yourself, this thing, well, anyway, I have 1 year validity period. You let me in the next month, then you will not be able to write it. Okay. So please take time out of the tight schedule you have, so that you sleep early and wake up early. Reduce your 7 hours to say 5 hours, or the time you spend at lunch, instead of spending all the 1.5 hours chatting, reduce it to 30 minutes. I mean, what are you eating? Like, you cannot finish in 30 minutes. Then you can spend 45 minutes out of the remaining 1 hour to study. Okay. So the time you are arguing with the other guys, who is the best, the most expensive player? No, who is the goat? Who is the sheep? You have to stop it. For the period, right? There's some of us telenovelas. You have to reduce it. You may have to go and braid, rasta or braids, so that you will not be spending plenty time at the salon for that period, or do cornrow and be wearing wig cap for that period. You have to be intentional about preparing for the exam. Okay. So I have this practice question. I have 2 for lead a team. 2 team members disagree on how to proceed with the project deliverable. The disagreement is affecting team morale and delaying progress. What should the project manager do first? A. Use avoidance until tempers cool down. B. Escalate the issue to the sponsor. C. Analyze the source and stage of the conflict. D. Replace one of the team members. What sayest thou is the answer.
We're only seeing C as the answer, the only answer in the chat.
Okay. C is the answer. I'm so happy. I don't want anybody to say, oh, Jimmy, your questions are simpler than the one in the study hall. But what I'm trying to get from here is you understanding that you don't jump straight into answering questions without you understanding the root cause of the problem. So yes, C is the answer. This is the question 2. A project manager is working with a multicultural, cross-functional team. One member prefers detailed instructions, while another thrives with autonomy. What should the project manager do? A. Apply the same leadership style to ensure fairness. B. Allow the team to self-organize completely. C. Tailor leadership style to an individual team member's needs. D. Assign a senior team member to manage others.
So majority are C's, but there are a couple of B's as well.
Okay. So can we hear one from each?
Feel free to just raise your hand and I'll unmute you. Those that said B, at least one, and then those that said C as well. One from each group. Anyone? Okay, we have Joel. Joel, feel free to unmute.
Yes. Hello.
Hi.
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Yeah. I choose B because as a PM, as a project manager, I should allow my team to empower themselves. So I choose the empowerment. This is why I choose B. So for me, the it's the best course of action and the best decision to make.
It was not very clear.
I choose B because B allows the team to self-organize. So for me, it's more I'm more in empowerment. I'm empowering my team to organize themselves and be able to do the work the way they want to. Feel free to work in a better way. I don't want to impose. I just want to let them choose and organize themselves by themselves.
Okay. Thank you.
All right. Helen? Just unmute your mic. Helen?
Hello, good evening, everyone.
Good evening.
Okay, I choose B. My reason is because in project management, you lead and direct the team. You can't always dictate for them. So self-organizing is allowing them to make choices how the team is going to operate. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, so we need one C.
Fatima? Fatima, feel free to just unmute. If not, Marcus?
For me, I chose C because
Okay, Fatima, go ahead.
I chose C because it speaks to diversity and inclusion, like taking into account of what the preference of the two members.
All right, thank you very much. The last person that spoke, when you pass your PMP and you are interested in training, get in touch with me, okay?
Okay, so
Yes.
I chose C because I see the project manager more like a parent, so you are supposed to be guiding and directing, and for you to lead the team members, you must see the team members as your children. And like we know, our children are not all the same. So we parent them according to their requirements. So that's why I chose C.
Okay. Thank you very much. The answer is C. If you look at it is not adaptive. If you look at this question is not testing the adaptiveness of project. It's checking or testing your ability to lead diverse teams. And when I was making presentation, I spoke about diverse teams. They're multicultural, So somebody preferring detailed instructions could be their own traits, and the other that doesn't need much instruction to deliver. It's also their traits. And this happens in real projects. If you have high performer and you are giving detailed instruction, they get frustrated because they know what they are to do. And if you have one that is not really high performing or needs instructions, detailed instructions, those are the people that will be asking for process. And when you give them the process and the information, they will deliver well. Okay, so you would relate with each at the level of their needs. So the right answer is C, please. Okay. I spent too much time on the first one, so let's hurry up. The second subtopic, so that you can have time to ask questions. Okay. Manage conflicts. Whether you like it or not, conflict would happen. When I'm involved in mediation and I see passion inflamed, I tell them that the first thing I say is that, oh, this is nice. You are involved, you are interested in the topic. That is why passions are inflamed. So it is us to direct the energy towards the same goal. And often we are saying the same thing, but we stop listening because anger has come in. And so because you stop listening, it now looks like we are on different sides. So conflict on itself is not a bad thing. It's actually a good thing because it may lead to innovation. So conflict is a natural part of project work, especially in constructional and high stakes environment. So your ability as a project manager to manage conflict constructively would impact your team performance. If you're unable to resolve conflicts constructively, then it will lead to division. Then people will say, I'm on this side, I'm on that side. You must, as a project manager, exhibit the traits of fairness that some people may not like you, but they know that your judgment is mostly fair. All right. So if you do not handle conflict well, it will mess up the morale of the team. And if morale is impacted, trust is affected, project outcomes will suffer. Okay. So these are the three subtopics we are going to look at under manage conflict. A, investigate the source and stage of the conflict. B, analyze the context for the conflict. C, evaluate, recommend, reconcile the appropriate conflict resolution solution. Let me quickly chip this in. With my few years of training, PMP, your questions, maybe they will be on change management. You should know how change is managed if it is adaptive. If it's adaptive, it is through the product backlog. At the end of an iteration, the customer says, I want XY to be added. What happens? The product owner populates the product backlog. When the customer is done, the product backlog is now prioritized. And from the prioritized product backlog is what the project team will now work on. So you will be seeing product backlog reprioritization. It's because it has gone through the customer's input. And that's how change is handled in adaptive. In predictive, is through the change control board. So if you are reading adaptive, if you are reading question and you see a change control board, it is predictive or at most hybrid. So it may be, your question can be on change. It could be on risk. If it's risk, it's talking about situation that has not happened. Remember, risk is something, event, or an occurrence that may happen in the future. Tomorrow is future. Next week is future. It has not happened. And it has two possible outcomes, positive or negative. That is the risk. So when you identify your risk register is also a living document. If you identify your risk, you analyze your risk, you come up with a risk response. Once any risk you identified occurs, it's no longer a risk, it's an issue. Now, how do you respond or handle it? You respond to it based on your response plan. This is for the risk you identified. For the risk you didn't identify, this will be the unknown unknown. If they occur, how do you handle them? You will use the management contingency. The one you plan, you will use the what is it called? Contingency reserve. The one you didn't plan, you will use management reserve. Management reserve is not part of your budget. It's with the management. And how do you describe responding to a risk that has become issue that you didn't plan? Is work around. Conflict resolution. So before you do all this, you need to understand. That's where the investigation. So your questions are usually you solving problem on risk, on change, on conflict, on planning, on communication. So that's the first thing you're supposed to identify. One, what approach is this? Is it predictive, adaptive, hybrid? Two, what role am I playing here? Sponsor is a question about sponsor, project manager, team member, functional manager. What part of the project is this? Is it initiating, planning, execution, monitoring, controlling, closing? All right. So what am I doing? When they say first, the possible options, all the four can be right, or you can have two right answers there. That's why people come out and they say, for the question, everything there are two right answers. Is not true. PMI is not mad now. How can they put two answers in a question? If they say first or next, what they are testing is sequencing. All right. If you understand, like let's say risk, you know that the first thing you need to do is to identify risk, followed by analysis, qualitative followed by quantitative. And so if you had identify risk, qualitative assessments, response, they are all what you do under risk. But you must understand which one comes first, the sequencing. Okay, so try to understand the basics of everything in your ECU. That's why you have those tasks. They help you understand what you're supposed to learn under each of the modules. Okay, so for manage conflict, these are the three things we'll be looking at. So the first one, investigate the source of the source and stage of the conflict, as you will do with every question. Don't investigate in your head and say, okay, this is the problem, this is how to solve it. Then you start looking for solution in the option. In the option, look for one that is talking about investigate, assess, ask questions to understand before you come up with solutions. So common sources of conflict: competing priorities, scope against schedule, against budget, resource constraints. You are not having enough resources for the work you are supposed to do. Poor communication or misinterpretation. This is very, very prevalent. When you are talking but you have not seen anything, and that is why you require feedback. What is the understanding of what I just said? So that you can ascertain whether the person you are talking to understood what you just said. And then the fourth sources of conflict in project management is role ambiguity. If you do not have team charter that would specify roles and their corresponding responsibilities, role ambiguity can lead to challenge or conflict. And then 5, personality clashes or cultural differences. If you have many of your team members as outspoken and opinionated as Jumoke, there will be conflict in the team. So these are possible sources of conflicts in your team. Sorry. Now, these are the stages of conflict. Disagreement. This one, that is when you even identify there's problem, and then it escalates, deteriorates, and then stalemates, and then it can now lead to conflict or you finding a resolution if it is possible. Okay, there's also LEA stages also. I've forgotten, I should have added it. So go and read about LEA, LEA. All right. Early detection is key. Every problem, if you're on project and you are able to determine problem quickly or something going wrong, you spend lesser time, lesser money, lesser energy in correcting it. But if it took time, then you will need more time to resolve it. So early detection of conflict is very, very important. It helps in applying timely intervention and preventing escalation, so where people start throwing chairs, as we see in parliament sometimes. Analyze the context for the conflict. These are the considerations that you must have. Team dynamics and emotional intelligence levels. In fact, if you just put your team together and you remember the Tuckman team formation stages, forming, storming, norming, performing, and adjourning, you know that there will be lots of conflict at storming. But I'm not saying, okay, this is Tuckman stages, or yeah, we are saying, what is it called? Storming, okay, conflict can happen. No, but sometimes understanding that helps in managing your expectations, because with time, things will cool down, will calm down. It doesn't mean that at the other stages there won't be conflict, So team dynamics, the experience level is like you conducting focus group discussion and having heterogeneous respondents. You have someone with social class A, then social class C, social class D. There will be conflict. It's either the A social class feels that, what am I doing here? Who are these people? Oh my gosh, and then there's someone in the social class D is thinking, hey God, when, hey, these people too, so it can lead to conflict. Now, organizational culture or hierarchy can also, you must factor it. I advise people that if you are leading projects and you pick people from functional groups, right, or functional units, you picked a general manager from a functional A, and the general manager in your organization is general manager in any department, then you now ask that general manager to be reporting to a manager, going against the organizational hierarchy and culture. It will result to conflict too. Now, wahala, so you must be mindful of that. And personal interest, sometimes some people have personal interest that is even contrary to the project's interest. That can also be source of conflict. You must look out for that. Okay, class-related conflicts, they are easy to resolve because it's about the project. It's not personal. But relationship-based conflicts, sometimes can be disruptive, so you just have to balance. That's why you need the team charter with ground rules. Let's say there is no team members can date each other, something like that. If you have it, it can help you and your team. All right, now you can use RACI. This is what you should know what R stands for, because you may be tested: responsible, accountable, consulted, and informed. All right, you can use that to assign roles and responsibilities to stakeholders. And the stakeholder analysis, we've looked at that. Emotional intelligence, I've spoken about it briefly. Team agreement would also be in your team charter. All right, anytime you bring new team member on board, you have to ensure that they have access to the team charter. All right, and you must know that the team will undergo the Tuckman stages again: the forming, storming, norming, performing, and adjourning. The third thing you should know under manage conflict is evaluating, recommending, and reconciling a conflict resolution solution. And this is in your slides. Withdraw or avoid this, you are not solving the problem. It's like you sweeping it under the carpet. You can use this for a low priority conflict that you can hold on. Okay, compete, force, or direct. This one is my way or no way. Now, remember, I said you are a project manager that is ethical, that is given to win-win situation. So even when you are negotiating with your vendor or contractor, don't rejoice and say, oh, everybody is paying 200 Ghana cedi. But I used this and I was able to confuse him, and now I'm paying 150. PMI will not reward you for that, because you have to be fair and ethical. Accommodate or smooth. This is where It's okay. You are saying we should come 8, and I want us to come 9. That's okay. Let's do 8, And then compromise is where, okay, I want to come 9. You want to come 8. Okay, let everyone come 8:30. That's a bit of compromise. The preferred one is collaborate or problem solve. This is a win-win approach. And what you do here is to investigate, to understand the cause, the reason why this conflict came up in the first instance, and find solution to it. So strive for fairness. Even if by nature you are not a fair person, when you are writing PMP, you must become fair, be transparent. And transparency is actually from a vulnerable state. I say this, vulnerability is from the place of strength, being vulnerable, because it means you are telling people, okay, I don't know this, and you must be confident in yourself to be able to do that. But as a leader, you should learn how to do that, because it makes it easier for the people you are leading to also be vulnerable and respect when resolving conflict. Don't talk down on your team members. So don't pick option that is ridiculing or that says that you are addressing this publicly to serve as a warning to everyone. No. Okay. So there are 2 questions on this topic as well. Question 1, during a project meeting, 2 team members begin arguing over the approach to a technical solution. The disagreement escalates and starts affecting the team's morale. As the project manager, which should you do first? A, ask both team members to leave the meeting and resolve the issue later. B, escalate the issue to the functional manager immediately. C, facilitate a discussion to understand both perspectives and work toward a collaborative solution. D, avoid the issue for now and focus on completing the meeting agenda. What is our answer?
Okay, only C's in the chat.
Question 2. A stakeholder and a team lead are in conflict about project priorities. The stakeholder insists on adding new features, while the team lead is concerned about scope creep. The project manager understands both sides and wants to preserve the relationship while protecting the project scope. Which conflict resolution technique is most appropriate? A, forcing. B, compromising. C, avoiding. D, collaborating. This one, if anybody got it wrong, I will enter the MS team and come and bite your nose. So make sure you put the right answer. Oh yeah.
Okay, only D's on the chat.
Better. Let me clap for them. I guess everybody wanted their nose intact. Okay, so the last subtopic, supports team performance. So, like I said, you are a servant leader, and the leadership will set direction. What do? You remove impediments, you provide coaching, you monitor team performance, you maintain alignment. So you must know the alignment to maintain it. You encourage collaboration. Okay. You are not managing tasks. That's not what you are doing. You are leading people and enabling performance, right? You are achieving, you become successful when you're able to deliver the objective or deliverable of the project through people. You led the people to deliver that. So supporting team performance is a key responsibility of the project manager. And that is for you to create an environment where team members can perform at their best. People should not be coming to work and be sad. Okay. And this involves setting clear expectations. When you don't set clear expectations and you have a meeting and you ask, you see that everybody will say different things. It's like placing an elephant in the presence of people that have sight impairments, and they have to touch the elephant to describe the elephant. If somebody touch the tusk, we say, oh, we describe the elephant as an animal that has tusk. Any part they touch is how they will define or describe the elephant. But if, though they are visually impaired, but somebody describe and use figurative to describe the size, the head, and what have you, then they will all, you will hear them say, I see, and then they will be able to describe the elephant the same way. That is your responsibility in setting clear expectations of what the project is to deliver, and then you measure performance. That's why you have a tool like EVM and value management. Fortunately or unfortunately, it's calculation, and you have to memorize the formula. And they are very simple formula. There are not many. Cost variance, schedule variance, schedule performance index, cost performance index, estimate to complete, estimate at completion, budget at completion, online. That's all. Okay. So we'll look at these 4 subtopics under that. Appraise team member performance against KPIs. It means you would have set KPIs earlier. B, support and recognize team member growth and development. C, determine appropriate feedback approach. And D, verify performance improvement. So let's start. Appraising team member performance against KPIs. You need to set the KPIs and help measure how effectively your team members' performance to project objectives would be. And then you communicate it. Don't be like policemen in Africa that they will hide in a corner. Then when you maybe break a rule, then they come out. Hey, I have caught you. Your leadership should not be like that. Everybody should know what is expected of them. So KPIs may include task completion rates, quality metrics, timeliness, adherence to budget or scope. Use performance reviews or regular check-ins like the CV and CPI. The calculating CPI or the end value management is not as important as your ability to interpret them. You must know what CPI of 0.95, what it means. CPI of 1.2, what does it mean? SPI of 0.75, what does it mean? SPI of 1.15, what does it mean? Negative cost variance, what does it mean? Negative schedule variance, what does it mean? Because that is the angle your question is likely going to come. Of course, know the formula and know how to calculate them. The cost, actual cost, planned value, end value. End value is where people make most of the mistake. Planned value is what you plan you are going to achieve. So let's say you have 6 rooms and we are going to lay carpet in these 6 rooms. It will take 1 month to complete 1 room, and it will take us 10,000 Ghana cedi. I'm using Ghana cedi because I'm in Ghana. So it means for the 6 rooms, it will take us 6 months, and it will take us 60,000 Ghana cedi to complete. At the end of 1 month, what we plan to achieve is that we would have completed 1 room, which would be 10,000 Ghana cedi, and we would have spent 1 month. At the end of the 2nd month, we would have spent 20,000 Ghana cedi, and we would have completed 2 rooms. So about, let's say you went there the 3rd month, at the end of the 3rd month, and we have completed only 2.5 rooms. What's your end value? End value is expressed in what you did, expressed in the budget. So your end value of the 2.5 will be 25,000 Ghana cedi, because a room is 10,000. A room is 10,000. We have done 2.5. So 2 is 20 and half is 5. So that's 25,000. That's our end value. And our planned value as at the end of the 3rd month should be 30,000. You should have completed 3 rooms. 10, 10, 10. That's 30. Then you ask the project manager, how much have we spent? The project manager says, we have spent 35,000. So that's our actual cost. So our actual cost is 35,000. Our end value is 25,000. And our planned value is 30,000. You must know how to tease this out of questions. Okay? Support and recognize team member growth and development. First of all, when you put your team together, you need to assess their strengths, their weaknesses, their inspirations. One, it helps in knowing the task to assign to them. 2, it also helps in determining the area of growth need. Let's say training in the course of the project. So identify individual strengths, weaknesses, and development opportunities. Now, encourage participation in training. Like I said, you will know their training needs and how to mentor them, and then recognize achievements. Don't only reprimand, okay? If you want to use carrot and stick, balance it. And a third subtopic is determine appropriate feedback approach. Use a constructive, timely, and respectful approach tailored to each team member. Give feedback timely. Whether positive or negative, give feedback. If it's positive, don't say, but that's what we are paid for. I don't have to. And it's only when it's negative. When you give positive feedback, the day you give negative feedback, the team members understand. They know that if it was good, you would have said it. And if it is bad too, now you are saying it. And of course, if it is bad, don't let it come out in a derogatory, disrespect manner. Be respectful about it. And it makes it easier. Nobody wants to be told they've not done well. But don't sugarcoat it in a way that will distort the information. Okay. And feedback should be balanced, highlighting both strengths and areas of improvement. Supportive performance, verify performance improvements, motivate, monitor agreed upon action plans. If there are corrective action, if we say some corrective measures or corrective action, it means something has gone wrong and you are correcting it. They use follow-up reviews or metrics to ensure desired changes are taking place. So if you are correcting something you've corrected, you need to follow up to ensure that the right thing has been done. It's important when you are measuring to have metrics. Avoid you are doing well. What is well? What is well? So you must have metrics, maybe 30% of something, 100% of something. And it must be something that you agreed, you with the team collaboratively would come up with it. All right. So you won't hear, this is what they say we should do. It will be what we agree to do, right? I have seen the power of collaboration. You would even chase your team members to go home. That it is late, everybody go home, let's continue tomorrow. Because every team member sees the work as our project, not their project. All right. So we also have 2 questions here. Let's attempt them quickly. Question 1, you notice that one of your team members is consistently missing deadlines. After reviewing the project KPIs, it's clear their performance is below expectations. What should you do first? A, escalate the issue to their functional manager. B, publicly address the issue in the next team meeting. C, schedule a private conversation to provide constructive feedback and understand the case. D, replace the team member to avoid further delays. Time no day. Yes, what's the answer?
Okay, majority of C's on the chat. There's nothing different. All C's.
Good. The last question. A team member has shown significant improvement after receiving coaching and mentoring. As a project manager, what is the best way to reinforce their positive performance? A, Assign more complex tasks without providing additional support. B, increase their workload to test their capability. C, recognize their improvements publicly and discuss future development opportunities. D, delay recognition until the next formal performance review.
Okay, all C's.
So I don't know whether you noticed, most of the answers were on C. So this is the time you can ask your questions, and if you want to chat with me, you can scan this. Not to come and ask me for free simulator. My simulator is sold. Okay, so questions, please. And thank you so much for sticking to this point. Questions?
Feel free to just raise your hand. The mic's enabled, so feel free to just raise your hand and ask a question directly. Dr. Shikotsi.
Yes, no, I just wanted to find out, is it possible that we can get a copy of the presentation?
Yes, I don't mind.
Okay, sure. Jumoke will share with me and then I'll post it in the chat on WhatsApp. Okay. Diana?
Thank you.
Okay. Diana?
Hello. So I have a question based on one of the practice questions we've done. It was about two people arguing and what should the project manager do first. So I went with C, which was facilitating a discussion between the two to understand what the issue may be. But someone had given their answer as D, which is avoiding that issue and waiting for the meeting to end first before addressing. I don't remember the exact answers exactly. So which made me question, because the question is asking what should the project manager do first. So why is the answer not D? Yeah.
But you chose C. You chose C.
Yeah, I chose C, yes, because that is the answer that made sense. However, when I saw D, I went to thinking in terms of like, realistically, the meeting has to end before addressing the issue between these two people who are butting heads. So I just wanted to understand why not D, even though C is the correct answer. Why would we eliminate D as something that the project manager should do first?
Okay, so the question is, during a project meeting, two team members begin arguing over the approach to a technical solution. The disagreement escalates and starts affecting the team's morale. As a project manager, what should you do first? And you are wondering why D is not the answer. Avoid the issue for now and focus on completing the meeting agenda.
Yes.
How can you continue the meeting when the meeting is already affecting the entire team's morale? It's affecting the structure of the team. You mean you would ignore that and then still continue the meeting? No. You cannot avoid this issue. If it is not to the point of affecting team's morale, you can say, okay, when I finish the meeting, I will address it. But this one, it requires an immediate attention.
Okay, thank you for the clarification.
Welcome.
Right.
Sorry, good evening. Can I just ask an additional clarification? So if it was during a stand-up meeting, so in the agile methodology that this happened, would it change the answer?
If it will not change the answer. The responsibility of the team, the Scrum Master, is to remove impediments. So we are not holding on resolving the issue, but also be mindful that when it comes to resolving conflict, if it is predictive, the project manager leads how it is resolved. If it is adaptive, the team manager, the Scrum Master, the product owner, all of them collectively would work at resolving, and they are empowered to resolve conflicts, So it is not left in one person's domain to resolve the conflict. And for daily stand-up, there are three things you are presenting. I was talking to someone yesterday, and the person was talking about stand-up meeting. And I said, you do stand-up meeting every day. What do you do at the stand-up? How long does it take? He said 30 minutes. I said, that cannot be stand-up meeting, because maximum is 15 minutes. And what you are doing at stand-up meeting is addressing three issues. One, what I did yesterday. Two, what I will do today. Three, if you encountered challenge or difficulty, how can that result into misunderstanding? And each person will say it. And sometimes, in stating the challenge you encountered, maybe you couldn't resolve it. Someone else among the team can say, don't worry, I can do this. And then it's resolved. If it is not resolved, it becomes the responsibility of the Scrum Master, because that is what the Scrum Master that's one of the main things the Scrum Master is doing, removing impediments. He finds solutions to it. Oh, my laptop is slow. That's an impediment or a challenge. Okay, let me take you to HR for refurbishment or replacement. The internet is slow. Okay, let me make a request so that they increase the speed. Oh, I can't find lunch. I have to drive for 2 hours before I get lunch. Okay, you know what? Let me try and get a restaurant to deliver food or something like that. You see. I hope I've answered your question.
Yes, thank you.
Okay, Jose.
Thank you, Nelson. Yeah, Jumoke, I just wanted to ask, the same way we have gone to look a little bit at the predictive type of calculations, could you give us some brief on the agile when it comes to the sprints and a little bit on the iterations? Sometimes there are certain calculations that comes into it. Could you give us like a sort of a quick brief on this one as well? What is like typical in terms of questions for that?
The questions maybe EMV, economy, something monetary. I've forgotten the name now. Or what comes?
Because this burn down and burn up charts would be with agile, correct?
Yes, but
Yeah.
bend down, bend charts is actually not calculations. But you know that you can also calculate EVM for adaptive. It will just be iteration per iteration. No? Don't get it wrong that EVM is only for.
Say you completed eight iteration in a 14 iteration plan, and they ask some questions somehow around that.
Say that again, please.
Yeah, sometimes you get questions where they say, for example, you have completed four sprints, if I'm not mistaken, for a total of 18 sprints in a particular case, and then they ask you more stuff like to do like few more calculations.
I'm sorry, I can't think of any, but if you have a question, calculations, mention the names and then I would explain. But let me quickly explain bend down and bend charts. I use candle to explain bend down, like you are bending the candle down. So at the beginning of the project, you have a whole candle. It can be number of iterations, it can be number of tasks, and it represents the amount of work or task to be completed or amount of work left to be done. So it shows work yet to be done. That
So
is burn.
is the candle burns is showing that that's actually the work you're doing, right? As it is burning
It
and it's
shows
becoming smaller, so it shows that you are completing the tasks, right? Is it?
burn down shows amount of work yet to be completed. So at every point in time, it shows amount of work yet to be done. That is burn down. So if you have a candle and you burn and a part burns, it means the part burnt is completed, but it's not measuring the part that is burnt. It's measuring what is left to be done. That is burn down. Burn up is the cumulative amount of work completed. So one is talking about work that you have not done. One is talking about work that you have done, but it's a cumulative. So let's say your iteration is every week and you've done 6 iterations. So so at the 6th week, it will show the cumulative amount of completed work or task. While that is bent up, whilst bent down shows amount of work not done. So for me, I learned or understood one, and the one I understood first was the bend down. That is amount of work not done, that is left to be done. Okay, and so I now know that okay, the second one, which is the bend up, is the cumulative of amount of work done.
Okay.
Any other question? And I hope you are encouraged. I sincerely hope you are encouraged. I want you to be encouraged, and that you can do it. You can do it. When I finished my first exam, I was looking for ways to ask for my script that I was so sure I passed. Thank God they didn't show me.
Okay. Next is Divine.
Okay, thank you, Nelson and Jomuka, for enabling us, for helping us also be successful in this PMP exam. Okay, my little concern is about is on conflict resolution. We've talked, and I understand one of the best techniques for conflict resolution is collaboration. Now, I would just wish you give us some little examples concerning the avoiding technique and also the compromise technique. How can we really see that, okay, here I will have to use compromise or avoiding techniques in conflict resolution? Thank you.
I thought I mentioned it earlier that avoid when the intensity of the problem is not much. It's not, then you can avoid it, because you can avoid it. It's like you are postponing resolving that issue. You see, so that was how I explain it. And then compromise is when it's a lose-lose situation. I use the example of someone wants us to start the day's work 8 a.m. whilst the other wants us to start 9 a.m. and then it's okay, let's do it 8:30. So both would have to give something. Both will not give the time they wanted. I think it depends on how the project manager analyzes the situation and feels the one that is most appropriate. Understand? But I think I have a table that can help. So when I share the slides, it can also help. But I don't want you to now look at it as if it's a formula. This is how you do it. You will have to be evolving, all right, in an adaptive way. When you look at, they'll play. They will paint a scenario, and based on what you think is important, you will choose the appropriate conflict resolution. Okay.
Okay, thank you. Thank you very much for that. I think I've gotten some insights, especially on the avoiding technique. Thank you very much, Njobuke. Thank you.
Most welcome.
Next one, we have Fatima. Fatima, are you there?
Yes, I am. Thank you so much. I really enjoyed the session. So my question is, a project manager is a servant leader, but at what point does he enforce or becomes authoritative? Because we know there are some conflicts that will warrant that. So Ma, can you please share an example of that?
Okay, so the extreme exam I give my students is, let's say there is a fire outbreak. You can't be saying, okay, so how many people are in agreement that we should use the fire extinguisher? How many people are saying we should not use fire extinguisher? You understand? Sometimes in a crisis situation, you cannot be using consultative or consensus. You have to make decision. And how to increase the chances of you making the right decision is how you have equipped yourself. You understand? You have learned, and of course, you could make decision that it could be wrong. But if you make decision based on data, based on experience, that's why PMI encourages us to keep learning, because sometimes you can learn for 2-3 years, nothing has happened that you need to make use of the knowledge you've acquired, and one day it will happen. You have to make decision, so the decision you will make that will be autocratic, because autocratic decision is not bad though. There are situations where you have to make autocratic decision or dictatorship. It's allowed. That is why your leadership style is not one way. When I'm training, I ask my team members, my class, what's your leadership style? And most people will say, as for me, it's consultative or consensus. But I've also realized that people hide behind that, so that if anything goes wrong, say, remember, we all voted, though, we all agreed, though. But there are occasions that you don't have the luxury of voting. If there's crisis, you will not vote. Or let me change that. You may not vote, because there could be crisis that you would have enough time to discuss and collaborate. But most of the time, when there's a crisis situation, you don't vote. You take decision as a project manager. And that is why you are a leader. That's why you are a leader. Like, you have foresight, you can make decision, you can think through things to make decision. I hope it made sense, please.
Yes, it did. Thank you so much.
Most welcome.
Okay, Ellie.
Thank you very much. Mine is related to conflict management and the techniques. And if Jumuke would just give some insights where there are power dynamics, a conflict is between a project manager and a project sponsor, a project manager and maybe a key stakeholder and all that. So when do we use some of these techniques that you have mentioned, like avoiding, forcing, because the power dynamics means that we are at different levels. Thank you.
Say it again. You sponsor, stakeholder, and who?
And the project manager.
Okay. Project manager. The project is not about you. That's the first thing you need to know. And if you have the project sponsor, the project manager, the stakeholders, they are all under stakeholders, really. So under stakeholders, you have the project team, sponsor, project manager, vendor, or contractor. And so if you have to make decision, the first person you should be paying attention to is the sponsor. It's the person that owns the project. It's the one that is sponsoring the project. Do you understand? If he says he wants something, say no, you can't say wait, let me go and discuss it with the vendor or the contractor. I'll get back to you. You can't do that. But you can advise. You understand that? For instance, if there is a change request, you can't tell your sponsor or manager that I know the project it cannot happen, and then your manager asks you and they say that I just feel it, from experience it cannot happen. What you are supposed to do is to analyze the impact of this change request on scope, schedule, cost, risk, quality, and present it to the project sponsor or the one with the highest authority, the change control board. Your change control board, you cannot just put your team members in the change control board. There must be people that can make decisions, that can approve the change request. Okay. Let's say your stakeholder now say, no, don't worry, we will not add money. Just go and do it. You can't say, no, it cannot work unless you have another job. You have told them you will need $2,000 extra. You will need 1 week extra. But they say no. You continue the work. When you get to the point that it is so obvious that you need extra 1 week, you need $2,000, they will say, oh, Solomon said it. We are the one that didn't listen. You understand what I mean? So among these three, I say sponsor, project manager, and other stakeholders, your team members are part of these other stakeholders. Sponsor one, no. Sponsor is number one. Then followed by maybe other stakeholders before the project manager. You, the project manager, you are delivering the intended value. So you cannot say, let's say your sponsor is something, say, no, from experience, me, I don't like it that way. We have to do it this way. It's not about you. It's about the value that the organization is to achieve through the execution of the project. Yeah.
So in that case, are we accommodating or are we collaborating?
What do you mean by, are you collaborating or you are accommodating?
Because the sponsor is at that high level, so I have to accommodate the decision that they have made, even if we are at conflict with it. Or
whether you are at conflict with the decision. Is that your question?
Yes.
As in you, the project manager, why should you have conflict with the decision? Because in the scheme of things, excuse my language, it's not about you, say. How do I say it? You should not have conflict with it. Because one, let me try to explain pre-project phase. Usually, a business analyst would conduct needs assessment, determine gap. And so, okay, maybe customers are complaining about the project, so you are losing customers. So the needs assessment conducts needs assessment and finds out, the business analyst conducts needs assessment and finds out that, okay, maybe the color of the packaging, the taste, then comes up with possible projects to address the gap identified. At that point, you project manager, you are nowhere to be found unless you are wearing both hats. You are wearing the hat of a business analyst and the project manager. But know that the exam you are writing is project management professional. The same mistake people make when they are applying, they will start writing their business analyst experiences, but you are applying for project management and they reject the application and they don't understand. So at this point, the project manager is not in the equation. The business analyst is the one conducting assessment and what have you, and then came up with a possible project to address identified maybe problem or advantage, first to market and new technology and what have you, and then would come up with maybe a project selection, maybe what is it called? Am I forgetting this? Cost against benefit or payback period or net present value. So decision is now made that project X is what we are doing. So now that we have picked project X, a project charter will now be written for that project X. And it is a project charter that now appoints you. Who is my friend that is asking the question?
Ellie.
Ellie. So the project charter now appoints Ellie as the project manager. You see, so Ellie now picks the project charter, discusses and formulates the team to execute the project. Now, how would maybe the business analyst or the project sponsor or your MD comes up with an idea, then you, the project manager, that they brought onto the project to execute and deliver value with the from the project, say that what they are saying you don't agree or is in conflict. Do you get it? You can't say that, but you can express maybe based on experience that this way you are saying we should go may have issue, like that, but it's not like you disagree or you agree. Ellie, does it make sense?
Yes, I'm well guided because largely this happens in the public funded projects where the sponsor is the government.
My brother, I started by saying, move away from how you are managing projects in your organization because the standard is not your organization. The standard is PMI. Forget how you are doing it in your organization. Forget how it's being done in your organization. Learn, become PMI. Learn the PMI mindset. Vous comprenez?
Thank you. Well guided.
Vous comprenez? Oui. Please, je comprends. Merci. This thing is very, very difficult because when you're analyzing the questions, if you are not careful, you will start thinking the way you do things in your organization or public sector. Please, keep practicing the questions. Don't fight the answers. And let me see. I will share a link. Let me see as we are talking if I can get the link. PMI mindset. It's one of my I can't. Let me check. Please keep the question coming. I should.
Any more questions? Feel free to just raise your hand. We still have a few minutes. Okay, Jumoke, there was a request on the chat to put back the QR code for your details.
Okay. All right, I just shared a link now, a YouTube link. And I'm encouraging you, please watch it. PMI mindset. That is the trick to passing PMP. Is the trick.
Just one quick one, Jumoke. We have the contingency and the management reserve. So the contingency will be in cases where the risks are known, right? If you have a known risk, you plan for it. So I just wanted to see to get from you instances where one activates the management reserve as such. If a plan for the contingency reserve should be there.
I'm sorry, I don't get your question.
Yeah, well, actually, I just wanted to understand the scenarios and the circumstances you would apply one and the other.
All right. So for predictive for projects, you'll identify risk. There are two types of risk. The first risk, in no particular order, the first risk is the risk that you're able to identify. Okay, so once you identify risk, then you analyze the risk. Okay, and you know that analysis in two forms, qualitative and quantitative. Then you come up with response.
Yes.
Those type of risk are called known unknown. KNOWN.
Yes, no, yes.
Unknown. Now, how you handle such risk if they became issues is through contingency reserve. The contingency reserve is part of the okay. So you can scan this. It's contingency reserve is part of the project budget. It's just that if risk does not become issue, send that money back to management. Now, unknown, example is COVID-19. Many organizations didn't see COVID coming. In fact, the only reason why I did risk management professional was the outcome of PMI's research that said that the organizations that responded better when COVID outbreak came were organizations that had risk management culture. That really caught my attention. Even though risk management is part of PMP and all that. And so when you read the findings, you realize that when you have risk management culture, you are poised, you are ready to handle risk, whether known or unknown. Because when you have a management reserve, it is not now that you're running around, hey, so this, how are we going to do? Well, when are we going to get money? Management already had money set aside. Now people ask me, so what is the proportion? How much is reserve? I said it will be based on historical data within that organization. The frequency of unknown risk becoming issues. What is the proportion of money spent? Then an amount is allocated, but is under the control of management. So that is called management reserve. And it will handle unknown. While contingency reserve, which is part of your budget, would handle known unknown. So for instance, how some organizations respond swiftly to COVID-19 was because they had unknown, they had provision for unknown management reserve. I hope I answered your question.
Yes, you did. Now I think I'm okay. Known, unknown, unknown, and unknown. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Right. Okay.
Doesn't look like.
We we are on time. So thanks for all that asked questions today. Thank you so much, Jumoke, for yet another session. Thank you for just taking the candidates through this. I've personally enjoyed the session as well. So in case you have any further questions, please reach out to Jumoke directly, post them on the chat as well on WhatsApp, in the WhatsApp group. And I'm wishing all the candidates success in your exams. See you again next week on Tuesday and Thursday. And have a good evening and good afternoon.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye.
Thanks. Bye.
Thank you very much.
Merci
Thank you.
beaucoup.
Thank you so much. Thank you, Mr. Nelson, Madam Jumoke.
Yeah, thank you so much. The session was good.